It's a loose crew tonight in more ways than one. Tonight, very special guest, Larry Norris here on Heart of the Matter from Salt Lake City, Utah, where we do all we can to worship God in spirit and truth. I'm Shawn, McCraney, your host. Join with me in a quick prayer. Lord, we need you, obviously, and be with us. Help us to speak truth and help Larry to be able to communicate the things you want him to say. And in Jesus' name, amen. Lots of response from last week's guest, Bryce the atheist. From Charlie, Shawn, last week's guest was the first time since I've watched your episode that I got my panties in a knot. Could you please read for your audience 1 John 4, 1 through 5, and then talk about it? It says, Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know ye the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that confesses not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof you have heard that it should come, and even now already is in the world. You are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. They are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, and the world hears them. My comment is, I think it says it all. Contextually, John was dealing with Gnostics who did not believe Jesus came into the world in the flesh. They believed he was a spirit or apparition. That's the context of that passage. But we can use it for people who are not of Christ yet. And I would prefer to say it not of Christ yet than to call them Antichrist, etc. There is a spirit, there is difficulty, but we're learning to come together, and it was great to have him. Got a really good, it was longer email from Adnan, and it was, but the best part, I think, I'm going to share with you. It's a little bit long, but listen to the way he thinks. It's really good. Hi, Shawn. I just finished watching the episode with the interview with Bryce Blankenagel and thoroughly enjoyed the discussion. I think Bryce is on his way to discovering that truth that I assume he's seeking for, and I am just writing to point out a few things I think you might find interesting, or you may not. First, I found it contradictory for Bryce to build an entire belief system based only in logic and tangible evidence because he has beliefs in illogical ideas. Now, stay with me through this. His belief in a second death is in no way logical. When I die, my dead decaying body will not know whether we are living, whether the living are still speaking my name and therefore preventing my inevitable second death. Neither does my decaying body even know what life I had lived, whether I was Gandhi, Al Capone, or an aborted fetus. I think Bryce is wise enough to understand the fact that in true atheism, there is no logic in the belief of good and bad. In atheism, good and bad can only logically be explained as the subjective opinion of the individual. And now he gives a really good example. He says, for example, a man holds another man gunpoint to rob him of cash. After a struggle, the robber kills the man and takes his cash. On the surface, we might say the robber is a bad man, but then we find out the robber has gone 2 days without food, society has shunned him because he can't hold a job, and he is literally starving to death in the streets. He killed a man, but in that scenario, listen, he only acted on his nature to preserve his life and feed himself. Can that be considered evil? A human prioritizing his own life or well-being over everything else, including the lives of other human beings, is simply human nature. In nature, it is survival of the fittest, and quite frankly, survival at all costs, even if it means killing, cheating, abusing, or destroying the world and or people around you. He says, I'm not disputing the fact that an atheist can be an atheist and still love others, do good things, and put the lives of others above their own. What I am saying is, where is the logic in putting the life of a stranger over your own life? Where is the logic in loving someone who hates you? If you live by a belief system that is built only on logic, then you must know there is no logic in loving others above yourself. Nature is not built that way. It is easy for you to be a good person, yes, because you have food on your table, a roof over your head, income, a good education, and life overall is going good for you. But for that person whom life has taken a blank on, that person may not find it as motivating to be a good atheist. Someone impoverished, hungry, or otherwise desiring more will logically, listen, he'll logically put his life and the life of his family first, even if it means killing, cheating, or otherwise destroying those around him. He summarizes this. In atheism, it is completely illogical for anyone to value the life of another over their own life or the life of a family member. And then he signs it admin. Those are really good points. Because what he's saying is, our guest was saying, it's by logic we do all things, and it's completely illogical for someone to not kill another person if they're starving to death. It's logical for them to kill another person if they're starving to death. So therefore, logic cannot be the means by which an atheist justifies their position. From eChristian, just watch your show with Bryce B. Good kid. Sadly, he traded his Mormon faith for atheistic skepticism, not even rational debate, but full of antagonistic thinking. He went on and he talks about how messed up he believes Bryce has become because of his thinking in Mormonism. He's only shifted out from Mormon beliefs into another like-mannered belief. And so that was really good. And then finally, I received a phone message from a viewer who watches the show and has my number. And he said, you ought to prepare better when you are talking with an atheist. Get your arguments down better. If you're going to debate with an atheist, get that already. And I just want to respond by saying, one, that wasn't a debate. In fact, I don't do debates. Even Matt Slick and I, we've done them a little bit. I guess Jason Wallace and I had one or two, but I don't like debates because it's just who can prove to be smarter. I really come to the table not preparing with an atheist so that I can hear what they have to say and respond by what I know of the gospel, from what I learned from the Bible and by the Spirit. And so I'm not here to win. I'd love to win the soul, but I'm not here to show how much better I am at arguing. I'm here just to hear their voice and hear their heart and try to respond with what I know the truth is and let the Spirit guide my comments. Well, they've come out of the wood and they've sunk their teeth into a man that they once regarded as a hero and a brother, Hank Hanegraaff, the Bible answer man. Again, I don't necessarily agree with Greek Orthodoxy, but I'm curious at who gives his attackers the right to think that everything they believe is correct. This is kind of the problem, folks. When someone believes that they actually have perfect knowledge and the right to attack another believer because their faith is a little bit different, humility, kindness, love, arrogance, mean-spiritedness, even hate rises up. I'm not going to mention names, but I do want to read one comment that was posted and sent to me from someone who's attacking Hanegraaff, and they're kind of a public figure in the Christian world. This person writes, quote, Hank Hanegraaff's conversion to Eastern Orthodoxy illustrates the importance, listen to this, it illustrates the importance of Reformed theology. That's otherwise known as five-point Calvinism. This apologist is suggesting that Hanegraaff would have been saved from his apparent downfall if he would have embraced Calvinism. And he adds, for the preservation of true orthodoxy, the biblical faith in the gospel. And then he adds this, quote, the pillars of the Reformation, the doctrines of grace, and the Reformed confessions all act as guardrails to protect the clear teaching of the Scriptures and to keep us grounded in biblical Christianity, end quote. Now, I'm really hoping God's Spirit is with me because I want to just laugh out loud at that last comment. This apologist actually states that his views, which are completely five-point Calvinists, are superior to the Bible answer man's views, and says that had Hanegraaff embraced seeing religion through his lens, then those guardrails would have been in place to present Hanegraaff with the clear teaching of Scripture. My Lord, this is what every LDS leader says to their congregants. The church has its guardrails up, and if you follow the church's teachings, you will always be in harmony with the truth. If you don't let those guardrails guide what the church says, you will go astray. So I understand that this writer is probably sincere in his promotion of the tenets of Calvinism. He believes they would have protected Hanegraaff from joining Eastern Orthodoxy. But note the irony. Hanegraaff has embraced one orthodoxy, and this guy is coming and saying, you should have embraced my orthodoxy. And I almost can't take it, man. I almost just want to bleed right here, to stab myself in the throat and die for this mess. Oh, wait a minute. Someone already did that. Someone already bled and died for the mess so that we could get over this stuff. And so that we could, looking to him, love each other amidst the differences of opinion instead of becoming Pharisees and scribes that continue to battle and fight over each other over tenets of doctrine. Where is the love? All we hear are statements of who is right. That's all we hear when you get online and you listen and you read these attacks and it's, I am right. Where's the long suffering? Where's the patience? Where's the humility, the fruit of the Spirit? And how can people say they are the judge and jury? Now, obviously, I don't like Calvinism, but I'm not going to say that he's not a brother. I'm not going to say you can't listen to him. Matt Slick's a Calvinist, and he's a very smart man. He has a lot of good things to say. So why can't Calvinists be Calvinists and Eastern Orthodox be Eastern Orthodox and just unconditionally love everybody else? So we have a woman who has attended campus. She's been a supporter with her husband, Harlan Matter, for years on end. And she's married, has a young adult son. She loves the Lord. She's not Orthodox. She's not judgmental of other faiths. And she looks to the cross. She knows she has had problems in her life. She readily worries about her stance with God, knowing that she's saved by grace. And she's dying. I saw her last week. She came to our Sunday service, and it was probably the last time any of us will see her. What do you say to that? What matters? Her doctrine, her orthodoxy, or her love? Her church, that she went to campus, or Calvary Chapel, or this or that, or was it her faith and love? What really matters at the end of the road? And, the message we can take from all these hollow, meaningless examples of infighting and character assassination, let me and you, let us err on the side of love. Let's start erring on the side of his life, our faith in him, his love for us, our love for him, and then our love for each other. And it's through this that all men will know that we are his disciples. And this is just a living example. She's going to pass if she hasn't already. And this earth life's gone for her. Gone. What did any of that mean? And so why can't we just start thinking about that this way now? Before we get to our very special guest tonight, my brother and friend Larry Norris, I want to take one more minute and follow up on our guest from Bryce from Naked Mormonism last week. We've had some emails. I personally thought the exchange was beneficial on a number of fronts, but especially for all of us believers to hear firsthand from a millennial, from the mind of a millennial and how they're thinking these days. They are unique, these millennials, very different. They are very opinionated, and they're not afraid to just tell you what they think. And very different from like the kids of the 50s. And they love the scientific method. And rightly or wrongly, this is the reality. And while we can sit back and point a finger at these kids and suggest that they're lacking and they're failing or somehow defective, I lay a lot of the blame on the leaders of the church in the past generations. How are the leaders of the faith at fault? Well, let's count the ways. First of all, they have either not taught the word reasonably and contextually to kids, but have instead presented it dogmatically. Or they've not taught it at all, and they've created a generation of believers who have no idea what the Bible means. They have no idea. And in the realms of dogma, they've relied on traditions, or they've spoon-fed in traditions down from one generation to the next, spoon-fed them as if they were just, this is it, and things that are not necessarily supported completely by a contextual analysis of the Bible. The worldwide flood and an ark full of every animal, and I know that's not the case with people who've researched it who are Christian, but it is the pablum that we have fed each other, every animal on the ark floating around on this worldwide flood. That God created the heavens and the earth in 6 literal 24-hour periods. They say that has to be it. Even though when you read in the Genesis account, he created the stars and the suns and the firmament several days after he started. So I don't know how we have 24-hour periods before that. Nevertheless, that's another dogma. That the idea that almost all of the world's inhabitants forever before and going forward are going to burn in a literal hell forever and ever and ever and ever. God knew this before creating them, and God enjoys it. This is some of the dogma that we have passed down, and the millennials here today, and they say, not me. I'm not going for that. You know, without trying to look at all the things that the Bible says, we have stuck to tradition. That Jesus is coming back any minute to rapture his church and destroy the rest of this wicked world. Been saying it for 2,000 years. There's no variance on that. That is what the truth is, and that is what we're going to teach, and we've been doing that for several hundred years. So we've allowed ourselves to use the Bible as a word-perfect manual and beat each other up and disagreeing on every point of doctrine almost, but we call it our manual. It does not make sense. We say it is the perfect word of God and we love it and it tells us everything, and then we disagree on most of what it says. And I'm not just being full of hyperbole here. We do disagree. And yet we try to, so we're living this double-edged sword with each other, and we're walking around injuring each other. The new generation, not so much their parents, but the Bryces of this world looked around and said, no more of that. And then with modern technology as their bailiwick, these kids, man, they go around and they don't just sit back and say, yeah, I just don't really believe that. I'm not sure. They go and they write blogs about it. And they attack the foolishness that we've endured over the centuries. And then also we've gotten them in and we've offered them emotional experiences ad nauseum. I'm not against emotional experiences. I'm not against using our feelings even in our lives. We have to. But seekers will be satisfied only so long with experiential religion. That's the thing. I mean, Chuck Smith taught this to us over and over again when I was in school of ministry. When you take and you move from the word and you go into experiential religion, what happens is you have to turn up the volume. You might even have to get to number 11 on that turn up. You have to turn up the volume each week in order to keep people entertained. And once you run that gamut and you get to the end of that experiential religion, people move to the next best thing. That's why we have people who bark in the Spirit and laugh in the Spirit and roll in the Spirit, because the experiential thing does not stay with you consistently throughout your life. It has to be added on. And that's how they went from, to snake handling and things like that. I'm not against experiential religion, but it has to be meted out by the Holy Spirit, not through man's ideas. And we have turned even the most regular services into rock shows. That's experiential religion. True seekers will only deal with it for so long, and then they'll say, yeah, I need something more here. I've got to have something more. And so if they don't get it, they fall away. So Now's the time for us to change the course in institutional religion before we lose more young men like Bryce, and due to their stubborn, nonsensical approach to the faith. And that being said, not all youth wander into abject humanism. Come on up here, brother. Our next guest is a young man who has my utmost admiration. For reasons that will become apparent as he speaks with us tonight, let me introduce to you my friend, my brother in the faith, Larry Norris. And applause for Larry. So, my brother, let's get into it. Okay. Go back, tell us about mom and dad, tell us about brothers and sisters, where you were born, the order you were in, and what family life was about until we get to that one pivotal moment that brings you to the show today.
Okay. I was born.
I was
born into a family. My father being a United Methodist minister, and my mom being a psychologist, a school psychologist. And I was number 8 in that family. I was the 8th child. And growing up, we went to church. And I mainly went to church with my sister. That was the second closest to me. And so
was it your dad's church?
Yeah, so we would go to my dad's church, and then there was a time when his church was kind of far away, and we would go to the more local church that we were more raised in growing up. So like yes and no, and that. So yeah, and then
close family.
Pretty close family, yeah. All live in Arizona. I'm from Mesa, Arizona. Sorry, I forgot to say that.
Yay! And so your dad is a Methodist minister.
Methodist minister.
And does he have a persuasion in terms of soteriology? Is he, I don't know, Methodist, they're not Calvinists, right?
No.
So no. Is he Arminianist? Was he fervent about anything in your...
No, he's pretty liberal. I mean, as far as his approach, I mean, he didn't necessarily force any of us to go to church, you know? He wasn't like, hey, get ready for Sunday, you know? And it was pretty laid back growing up. It was...
But your mom was insistent upon the proper dress, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my mom wanted us to look good for church and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And so, mom and dad, they raised this Christian family, and Mesa, Arizona, is predominantly LDS.
Yeah.
So, when does the LDS influence start to have an effect on you?
High school. Well, no, more like late junior high.
Late junior high.
Because honestly, I didn't really realize it until late junior high, and then coming back. I mean, because it's weird, because I grew up with a lot of the kids in elementary school, but I didn't know they were LDS. And, you know, being at that age, you didn't really, you know, it's not something that you really think about, you know, so, yeah.
So you're a clean living kid.
Yeah, pretty clean. I don't know. It depends how you look at it.
He's a clean living kid.
Just kidding. Yeah.
And so you fit in with the Mormon makeup pretty much.
Yeah, I don't,
was mom and dad in the home, were they very big on things like not getting drunk and not...
I mean, they don't do it. They don't drink. I mean, my dad will have a glass of wine, I guess, every once in a while. But I mean, they didn't do it, and you know, and you kind of see we had some issues in the house with, you know, some things, and you kind of saw what drugs and stuff did. So I mean, it was just, I don't know, I just kind of stayed away from it, you know.
Okay. So junior high, your grade school friends are now older, and religion starts to come up, and you find out they're LDS.
Yeah.
And these are your core friends.
So these were, so it was pretty much 9th grade. So in Arizona, it's 9th grade was in junior high technically still, and then they moved it. But yeah, that's when I started making more friends, and they were LDS and things like that. And we didn't talk about it that much until more like later on, like 10th grade and stuff, until two of my really close friends that I became close to, we started talking more about theology, I guess, and kind of up in the air stuff, you know.
So the up in the air discussions aside, were you invited to church meetings, ward basketball, softball team, any of that stuff?
So it kind of was introduced through going to Mutual, you know. And then I would go to Mutual, and then you make good friends there, you know, and then eventually it was, I went to church, and then it was mainly Mutual, and then it was, hey, we're doing a super activity. You want to come? Yeah, sure, you know.
Darn super activity.
I know, because they're always great, you know. But yeah.
So super activity, 10th grade, theological discussions start to happen.
Yeah.
While you were going to Mutual and you were attending and doing different things, did you sense any difference in the meetings and what you were hearing?
Yeah.
Did you?
I felt, it just seemed more united, I guess, with, because it seems like everybody's kind of on the same page. Because growing up in a church and a denomination, I mean, it's just like, I wasn't really well read up theology or doctrine, I was just kind of like, oh, I believe in God, I believe in, Jesus and stuff, and it wasn't like I really knew much. And so going into the LDS, it was like, man, they're all like so united in their community, I guess. Not saying that my dad's church wasn't or the Methodist church isn't, but it was just, I noticed it more, So, yeah.
And did any of the adult leaders take you under their wing? Did they?
Yeah, well, I mean, in a sense, yeah, because I got really close, and I'm still close with them today. We talk and stuff, and so yeah, in that sense.
So there has to be a girl involved.
Well, okay, like later down the road. Well, I was dating a girl that was LDS. And, yeah, it was. Okay,
you can't throw this under the rug.
I know, yeah.
How big of a role did this play?
Honestly, not as big as you might think.
Larry?
I swear, no, because I remember, so I started taking the missionary lessons my 12th grade. By 12th grade, that's when I started, I was more interested, and I was like, okay, let's do this. My friend suggested it, and I said, okay. And it was like after the first lesson, it was like, hey, do you want to get baptized? And I'm like, I still don't know anything about you guys. Like, you know what I mean? And I really wanted it to be a decision on my own. No, I don't want to have any influences at all. So it was like a year process until I got actual baptized, into the church. And
so a full year with you did all the lessons.
oh, I did them like 8 times.
Did you?
Yeah. It was a lot. Yeah, and then by like the December of like my senior year of high school, that's when I started going to seminary. I had a free period in my schedule, and so because sports were over, because I was usually in sports my 6 hour, and then so that was free, and actually never mind track. But anyway, so I started going to seminary, and it was really fun. I liked it a lot, and then missionary discussions.
Do you remember what they were studying at that time?
It was Book of Mormon.
And so you're going to seminary, you were raised, well, I'm kind of sensing that you were raised in the church, dad's a minister, you knew of God, knew of Jesus' story.
Yeah.
But you're in seminary now, 12th grade, and you're hearing the Book of Mormon be taught, and nothing said?
I mean, no, because you read it, and it's like, whoa, it sounds like the Bible, and, and you're just kind of like, that's really cool, and I don't know, and then you just kind of go with it, and then they throw that back on you, like, oh, how can Joseph Smith at a young age write this book, and you're like, oh, yeah, well, good point, because I didn't know any better,
So at the time that you're starting to take missionary lessons, what's mom and dad saying?
Mom and dad are supportive. They, nothing bad, really. I mean, they're asking questions, like, so what is this whole Mormon thing, but nothing really, not like you can't do that, or anything like that, so.
Did they tell you what they were talking about with each other behind the closed doors when Larry was asleep? I'm so worried about Larry.
No, they didn't. No, they never told me anything like that.
I'd love to get them on the show and ask them.
No, I'm telling them. I know my mom's watching right now, so you can shout out. No,
call in, Mom. We want to hear. So you don't know if they were worried or not. They just didn't convey it to you.
Yeah, they were very supportive about it. They weren't. Like I said, they weren't like, you can't do that, or what are you doing, they were really supportive, and honestly, I don't think they knew much about Mormonism or anything, so I guess they might have thought they didn't have an argument for it, I guess, or, I mean, they knew a little bit about it, but not much.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe through your mom's social work and counseling in schools, she probably saw that, the LDS kids were probably a pretty healthy living group.
Yeah, sure.
Larry could be involved in a lot of worse groups.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what they're kind of known for, is how good a clean living they have, and so my mom wasn't upset about that. She wanted me to be a part of a good crowd, and, so. Yeah.
So what's interesting about that for you guys at home who have an interest in the LDS thing, and especially you can start to see how it works, that there's a lot of friendshipping.
Oh, yeah.
There's tremendous fellowshipping opportunities. The social activities are phenomenal. Did you go to the dances?
I went to like a couple, but not
your style?
It wasn't, yeah.
Because they wouldn't let you bear hug. You had to.
Yeah, exactly. And the music was weird. No, I'm just kidding. But, no, I'm just
the music's is normal, right?
Yeah, it's normal music. I was just kidding. But
Okay. Yeah. So you finally decided to join.
So then, my end of my senior year, it was so weird because although at this point I was really starting to believe in it, I still had a little things. I just in the Joseph Smith story that God said all the churches were an abomination. Things like that, I'm like, I can't see that ever being, a thing. And it was kind of weird. And so I had these kind of small issues, but, overall I was like, well, look at the organization. It's so good, And it was so weird. It was like a prompting in my mind, like, join the church. And I was like, what? And I totally believe it was the Spirit. And it was kind of this dialogue between us, and I was like, but all these problems that I have with it, join it. I was like, all right. So then I went up to my dad, and I told my dad that, I think I'm going to join. And then my dad said something that I'll probably never forget. He said, if you feel the Spirit guiding you in any direction, follow it. And I said, okay. So then like a week later, I got baptized.
Wow.
And 200 people showed up.
Wow.
It was huge, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then then I got baptized.
That's a huge baptism.
I know. People didn't even know. I was like,
what do you suppose that response was from?
I guess investigating.
Besides your charm and good looks.
No, it's not from that. But I
See
think
how humble this kid is?
No. But it was probably from, I don't know, just investigating for so long, and word got around, hey, look at this investigator, that's a pastor, and it kind of drew attention. And then it was like, oh, he's finally making the commitment, and
Did that play to your ego at all?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, of course it did, because, I don't know, at the time I was kind of really, I was in sports and stuff, and I was really kind of competitive and, egocentric, and it was just, so yeah, I would say, yeah, I did, because I was like, oh, look how popular I am, blah, 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 and, but, I mean, later on, it kind of just, it meant nothing to me. I mean, it means nothing to me now. I'm just like, well, I mean, the support was great, but I mean, the whole like audience and people. I mean, now it's just like.
Tell us about your first church talk, and tell the audience about what that was.
So this was after I was baptized. My institute teacher was the stake president, and one day after class he comes up to me and he says, "Hey Larry, can I talk to you for a second?" And I had an idea because I'm like, "Oh no, stake conference is this weekend." And he goes, "How would you like to talk in stake conference?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, and then I was like, "What do you want me to talk about?" Because at this time, I mean, I was like, I really don't want to talk about like Joseph Smith or something like that. And he goes, "Talk about your conversion story." And I said, "Yeah, okay." But most of the talk, I talked about Paul and his conversion story and kind of how it relates to all of us. And so I didn't talk much about.
How intriguing! Yeah. Talking about Paul at the stake conference.
Yeah, I did. I was like, well, because to me, I'm like, it's just a story. I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I didn't really focus a ton on me. I kind of gave a little brief, but like most of it, I tried to make about Paul and stuff like that. And
And how many people were there?
Like over 1,000, 1,000-ish, over 1,000, yeah.
So what they were doing is they were holding you up, man.
Yeah,
this is the minister's son.
I know.
That's big business.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
that's guerrilla. That's guerrilla capture. You were the hero.
I know, man.
So you went. So then the mission. Did you get a call? Did the bishop call you in and say we want you to go on a mission? Or?
No. So kind of at this point in me and the church, all my friends are going on missions at this point, and I'm actually really investigating because, like I said, my ego was up, and because what happened was I got so kind of cocky in the LDS faith because I read so much doctrine, and I was like, this can't be, it has to be it. I believed it. I didn't know it was true. I couldn't be like without a shadow of a doubt, but I could say, yeah, I really believe it, because in the box of their theology, it all makes sense. It all complements each other. And so at this point, I was kind of going back and forth. I was like, because I started listening to you, because you brought up good arguments, and you were really interesting to listen to, and you're funny, and I don't know. And so at this point, I wanted to go on a mission, but I was more towards, I don't think I'm going to go because too many doctrinal issues, and I started reading A to Z. And then it was like the same voice, same prompting in my head, like, go on a mission. And I was like, well, these issues, go on a mission. And I was like, all right, fine. So then I got my papers done, I submitted them, I got a call, went to Argentina, and then went on a mission. And yeah.
So you went to the temple?
I went through the temple.
And what did that? How did you react to that?
I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't so okay. Admittedly, I looked up the videos before, so I kind of knew what to expect. But I mean, as far as like what you say and stuff, in the Methodist Church, it's kind of similar. So it wasn't really awkward to me. But like looking around, you see like the people going through their first time. They're like, you know, and but for me, it was weird. It was different with the whole wardrobe and everything, and the handshakes. It was, I don't know, but I was just kind of like whatever about it.
So at this point, did your mom and dad know you were going to the temple? Did they have any idea what that meant?
Well, I did. Well, my dad did for sure, because we talked about it. My dad and I were really close in this, and we talked a lot. And after I did it, I went home and I told him like pretty much everything about it. So I know I'm bad.
No, you're not bad.
But, yeah.
So Argentina, he went on the mission.
Went on a mission, and it was a great experience. I loved it. It was awesome. But it came to a point where I felt like a hypocrite, because I'm like, I'm not even believing now. Well, so the whole let me kind of start with the mission. I went out on a mission and everything, and I got to the MTC, and it was kind of like, okay, why am I here? You know what I mean? I had that intellectual prompting that I should be here, and it was, I met my district. It was all guys, great group of guys, and it was interesting because, you know, obviously they find out you're a convert. They want to know everything about you, and they started asking, well, what does other churches believe? And this was great because I had your book with me on the mission, A to Z.
Wow.
So I would kind of pull scriptures out of that, and I would say, okay, this is kind of what the Christians' stances are on, you know, apostasy, or, you know what I mean, atonement. And they were actually really open-minded, and it was really good. And I was actually kind of surprised. And it was, except for my companion, he was really more
terrified?
Not terrified, but he was like Peter Priesthood, like, come on, brother, we got to be focusing on the lessons and all this stuff. I remember one time too, he started going on about eternal marriage, and it was annoying the crap out of me. Yeah. And I showed him that scripture in Paul where he said, you know, it's better not to marry unless you're burning in your flesh, you know. And he's like, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm just like, well, I don't know, man. That's what he said. So I'm just showing it to you. But anyway, so I go out. I go out on the mission, and then I get out into the field. And then I get a companion, doesn't speak a lick of English, all Spanish, and it was a great experience, and it was awesome because I had kind of this more personal relationship with God, because I couldn't talk to anybody. I felt like, you know, because everybody speaks Spanish, and I learned 6 weeks of Spanish, but not really 6 weeks of Spanish in the MTC, you know. So, so it was like this continual dialogue every day with me and God. That's how it was. I don't know. It was really great. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, why? Because I loved it out there, you know, but I hated teaching, because I loved teaching, but I hated teaching what I had to teach. Does that make sense? So,
so were you on a mission, so to speak, that you were sharing the relationship with God that you were having while you were walking around?
That's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to kind of, in a way, throw away the lessons and just kind of talk about it, you know, and because you're meeting people that are mainly broken, you know, they don't have a lot. They live in like a shack, you know, and you want to just kind of, you know, you want to give them something, you know, because they're kind of like, well, you know, what is this life about and stuff, and a lot of them were raised Catholic, and anyway, but going out, it was great. I don't know, what was I getting to?
You were saying about how it was
great,
but there was a conflict.
There was a conflict, so, with the whole doctrine thing, and I finished your book finally, and then I had to read it when my companion was in the shower, because if he saw me reading it, he would be like, he saw me reading it at one point because he was like, what is that? And he didn't speak English, so I was like, yeah, it's a theology book, you know, it just talks about, you know, I told my dad gave it to me, I lied about it, but yeah, I was like, but okay, see, I'm bad, I told you I'm a bad guy, yeah. But anyway, I got to a point where I finally realized why God brought me out here.
And what was it?
It was, I saw a total business side of the LDS Church, and it was a side that I didn't recognize before. And it was like, you go out there, you have to give this many, you know, pitches of being baptized a day. You have to give this many lessons. This is the goal for the month to hit on baptisms in the mission. Let's make sure we're doing it, you know. And it was it was like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, this is a total business model, it feels like, you know? It felt like to me. And then so finally, it was, I have to make this clear too, because a lot of LDS people are saying, oh, wait, see, you got told to join the church and everything. And well, it was the same voice, the same spirit that told me to, hey, I brought you out here for a reason, and you found out what that reason was. Now I want you to go home and move on to other things. And I have to make that clear because they think, you know, we got all the prop things, you know. So, and then so I went up to my mission president. I emailed him. I said, hey, I'm having I have struggles. I want to go home. I don't know if I believe in this anymore. And so I met with him 1 week, and he was like, well, just give it 1 more week. Pray about it. And I was like, I'm pretty sure. But I was like, all right, cool. Because I really liked being out there, you know. So I gave it 1 more week, and then coming up that P-Day, that Monday, I emailed him again. I said, hey, I'm done, you know. And so I went back to Rosario, that's where the mission home was, and it was about an hour away. And we talked, and it's all in Spanish. I gotta remind you that. So it was like, ooh, you know. And he was like, so what's really the issue, you know? He goes, did you have a girlfriend before this? Well, yeah, but she's on a mission now. Did you guys did you guys have sex and stuff? Like, you know what I mean? Just kind of getting me, like, what are you unworthy of, you know, kind of thing. And I'm like, I didn't do any of that. It's just doctrine. I don't see eye to eye. He goes, well, what doctrine? And I'm like, well, draw something from a hat because I can talk about anything, you know what I mean? So, but we picked baptism. He goes, do you believe you have to be baptized? And I was like, well, it depends, of the water or the Spirit. And he goes, both. And I said, well, I just believe of the Spirit. And he goes, well, that doesn't make sense. What about Jesus and stuff? And, you know, I came and gave him my interpretation of it. And, you know, he's getting really ticked. He's getting red in the face. And he goes, why do you want to go home? You're the only member in your family. You know, you don't even have the Book of Mormon in your home. Like, how are you going to get better, you know, in your doctrine and stuff? And then I was just like, listen, I just don't see it. You know what I mean? And then eventually the conversation kind of got too deep to like talk in Spanish because I'm kind of amateur at this, and he, you know, and so we brought in the AP, and he kind of translated. Great guy. And eventually he said, okay, we'll go out and talk to Elder Brock about it, because Elder Brock was from the States, and he was the AP that he brought in, and then we talked about it. Great guy. He was a convert too, and we had probably the best conversation, one of the best conversations I've ever had in my life, just talking about life, you know, and it was really interesting. And towards the end, he just goes, you know what, he was really open-minded. He said, you know, it kind of sounds like you made up your mind. You know, I'll go tell President Zani and stuff. So we go, and President Zani's like, okay, fine. If you want to go home, you can go home. I had to call my stake president, and he was shocked because he was my institute teacher. So he's like, I never saw this coming, you know. And yeah, and then I came home.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm always interested in the parents' response.
Oh yeah, I was going to get to that. See, I briefed over it. So the whole time I was talking to my parents about it, emailing through email, and it was really cool because they were really supportive. They just said, you know what, why don't you just stay out there and preach Jesus and stuff? And I wanted to, but I'm like, it's not that easy. You can't just, we have to teach these lessons and stuff, and it's just, they're so, you know what I mean? I just don't see them biblical, you know? And then they said, well, you know, trust in God, do what you want to do. And they're really supportive. They said, if you come home, we love you. If you stay out, we love you, kind of thing. And it was really supportive. And then eventually I said, hey, I'm coming home. And it was funny. I tried to call them, and my little nephew my sister was having her baby, my nephew. And so nobody was answering. And I'm like, well, I'm leaving tomorrow. So hopefully they get the idea. And then ended up, and then they got it. They did their research and stuff, found out when my flight was coming. So.
It's really remarkable because it sounds like they they trusted God to lead you. They told you if the Spirit leads, you follow it. You did. The Spirit took you to places. You have a very, very kind heart toward the people that you dealt with. I know you're still friends with many of your friends. Yeah. You don't have an antagonistic spirit towards them. You said the AP was a great guy. You said that twice. He's a great guy. You seem to have a love for the goodness of the people. I do. But you also have come to realize that the faith was just not what you initially thought it was?
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, taking the lessons, it's really basic, you know, and then they kind of package it up, and you're like, whoa, that's really cool, because they have all the answers and all the things you kind of wonder about, you know, what's going to happen when I die. And especially me, because I wasn't really well read on, you know, I believed in God and I went to church growing up, but I wasn't really well read on the Bible or anything. So yeah, just the whole approach, it was like, whoa. And then, but like when you find somebody like you that brings out the arguments and brings out the more biblical side of things, then you start to think, and then it's, what am I going to choose? You know, am I going to choose the LDS? Or am I going to choose what the Bible says? You know.
So how has your faith changed since you left the mission? You've been away. How have your friends responded? Are you still being asked to speak in front of thousands of people?
No, no, I'm not. No. Friends are good. Most of them I'm still, actually all of them except probably one of them I'm really great, great friends with, and we still hang out, we still talk all the time. And yeah, and as far as even the adults in the LDS church that I was really close to, we're still really good and everything, and they still, they still want me to come back and everything, because they know. And I'm really open about it, because when you come home, people are like, they're kind of scared to ask you, like, oh, like, why'd you, you know what I mean? But I was open about it, and because I really didn't care at that point. I was, here's the deal, this is why I came home. And, they all try to help in their certain ways, but you kind of know what they're going to say already about their interpretation, or, you know what I mean? But, yeah, all the friends and everything we're still really close. Most of my friends are LDS, so.
And do you have anything on your heart that is leading you to sort of reach out to them? And I don't mean in an overt way, but from your spirit. Is your spirit saying?
For me, it's kind of, I'm trusting God in it, because that's kind of the example that I saw from my parents and everything. So that's kind of what I'm doing. So, but I will, they know my situation. So when we talk about things, I'll tell them, I'll say, oh, I don't really see that. Or I'll tell them, what I think. But as far as kind of being, hey, like, you know what I mean? That's wrong. Or did you know this? I just don't, that approach didn't work for me, so I don't see it working for them, type of thing,
So what advice do you have for people who want to reach out to their LDS friends? And is it just, and I say just, but is it to trust in God and you just love them and be engaged with them and be friends with them? And would you have any cautions to give to people whose children are being raised in an LDS environment? Or do you completely distrust that God will handle all things, and you're not, it's not something that even concerns you?
Well, it concerns me, but my type of thing is, your love towards them is going to impact them more than anything, in my opinion. And if you, share things with them, obviously. Say, give them your opinion, and show them why, why you think that. Don't just say, this is what I think, and then kind of leave it at the door, but just show them why, and then it gets the juices flowing, you know what I mean, for them. And I think in time, those kind of seeds that you're planting are going to prosper, and you know what I mean, and they're going to come to an idea, hey, and they're going to think a little bit more.
Do you have any anger at all?
No, because I think the whole experience why God brought me into the LDS church was to seek Him, because I know I wouldn't have done it otherwise, because it got me my ego up. It got me thinking, oh yeah, like this is it. I'm gonna go out because it's true. I'm gonna go out and preach it, and then it got me to, you know what I mean? It just got me to think.
So he reached you through that means.
That's what I believe. Yeah.
You would have been maybe a churchgoer, but not really even care.
Kind of going through the motions type of thing.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
what a great story.
Think, so I think He totally used it.
We have a lot of people who say, I'm so angry. I spent so many years in the Mormon church and so many things, but every now and then people are wise enough to realize that God uses those things to get us into a place.
That's what I believe.
How's your walk today?
It's good.
How the chicks?
Yeah, non-existent. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
So your walk today is good?
Yeah, it's good. I come here and it's great.
Yeah, you do.
I do.
Love seeing you.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know.
Well, we've talked about it, man.
All right.
We have someone on line 3, but nothing's coming up on the screen. Do we have a call? She say yeah?
No, he said hold on.
She said hold on. Hold on. So, Larry, anything else? Any final thoughts you want to say before we take a call, if there is a call?
I just want to, the only thing I can kind of leave here tonight is whatever somebody might be going through, whether it's with a religion or personal struggles, just trust in God. That's really what I kind of bank it on. There's really nothing we can do to make our lives better than somebody that already knows what's going to happen, in my opinion. So Trust in God.
I've never met your parents. I don't know very little about them, but my hat is really off to them.
Yeah.
Because you can see that through their way of raising you, that you've turned out to be a very balanced guy who's like, look it, God will work these. You're a man of faith, really.
Yeah.
Because you just follow the Spirit and you trust that He will do that. And that's a wonderful way to be. And that, there's so many people who come out of religion, pastor kids. I mean, that's like a title. They're often very messed up,
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Look at mine. No, just kidding. Just kidding, girls. But I mean, they can be. And my hat's really off to your parents. They've done a wonderful job with you, Larry.
Well, I appreciate that.
How many years have you been off, been home?
From a mission?
The question is, how many years has he been home from the mission?
I gotta think. So I would have been, this May I would have been out, or this June I would have been out 2 years, and I was out for about 3 months. So about a year and, what is that, year and 9 months? Year and 9 months, right?
Year and 9 months.
Year and
you've
9
been
months?
home?
Yeah, so.
We got a call from Ashley on line 1. Actually, the lines are all lit up, Larry.
Whoa.
I bet we're getting an invitation for a date here. Ashley, you're on Heart of the Matter. Are you calling for a date with Larry?
No.
See, they don't like me. I'm just kidding.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
I am a freshman in college and have recently grown a heart for Mormons and reaching out to them. And I have been going and talking to Mormons on chat rooms online because I really don't have any Mormon friends. And really just the responses that I always get is, just read the Book of Mormon, pray about it. And obviously, my response to them is, well, it doesn't matter, what I think, because what's true is true, and I try to get them to understand it, and I try to get them to, realize it, but how do you, explain to them that the so-called Holy Ghost that's leading them to what they believe is the truth, that isn't what that's coming from? Because, Larry, I know you were talking about how you believe there's, that voice in your mind that was saying, go, join the church, join the church. How do you, differentiate to them the difference between those two voices?
Have any insight?
So, if I understand the question right, I think for them, it's kind of based on feelings. Am I getting? So, I would say, kind of don't go what your gut tells you to go or what feelings you're mustering up, but go for what you think. Kind of base it more on the knowledge side, because I'm really kind of into that, what Warren was talking about. Believe what you know and not follow what you know and not what you feel. You know what I mean? So that's kind of all I got.
So hand in hand with that, Ashley, we might say this. So the LDS say, just trust your feelings, trust your feelings. And Larry's saying, and he learned this tonight from Warren's show on Breaking Bread, that you go with what you know, not what you feel. So what do you know about the Book of Mormon? Well, the problem is you don't know anything because there's no history, there's no genetics, there's no archaeological evidence, there's nothing to know about that book other than it's a piece of fiction. What do we know about the Bible? We know that there is a Jerusalem. We know that there is a people called the Jews. We know that there are manuscript evidence for the Bible. We know this, we know that, we know this. And so we go with what we know, not what we feel. That's how I would approach those guys online.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's really helpful. And I just have some words of encouragement for Larry. I know that you have a lot of LDS friends, and I don't have LDS friends, but I wish that I had LDS friends so I could share the gospel with them and share the truth of Jesus. So take that opportunity that you have to talk to those people, and please just love on them and preach to them the gospel that you know, because, this is your opportunity. You're here on this earth to share the gospel. So I just really would just love to, be in your position to be able to talk to those people. So just words of encouragement, please talk to them because they're so lost and they need Jesus.
Ashley, where do you live?
I'm in college in North Carolina, but I'm from Virginia.
Oh, Well, stay on the line and give us your email, and you and Larry can talk because he's out here at BYU land, and you guys can communicate on how to team up together and reach these millennials.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. I knew we'd get them connected.
Oh my God.
Heart of the Matter, Dayton. All right. Do we got any? We have 2 more lines. Is there anybody? Line 2. Don't know who it is. Oh, not Ryan. You're on Heart of the Matter.
Hey, Shawn, how are you, man?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. First of all, I have to say to you, I'm so grateful to you, man. You have changed me as a human being. Maybe I'll not see you in person in my life, but what you're doing is amazing, man. Wish you all the best, Shawn.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Ryan.
Okay. Hey, can I speak to the guest just for one moment?
Yes, please.
Hey, how's it going?
Okay. Hi, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, sir. My name is Ryan. I'm technically still an LDS, but I'm not active anymore. I have seen many different phases in LDS, so I have a lot of doctrinal issues too. So I just want to know one thing, sir. Like you were in the NTC for for the mission training. Is it correct, sir?
What was that?
I mean.
Yeah, I was in the MTC. Yeah.
Okay. Can you just tell me just a little idea, like what the training is all about? Like, is it always about the salesman's approach, like
Sure.
how many people you can convert and how many numbers you have to hit? Or is it like more of a religious doctrinal issue? Or they just say like, okay, just say some of the things to the potential convert, like so that you guys can convert them. Just a salesman's approach.
Yeah. So, are you? He's mainly asking what it's like, right?
Yeah. What's the MTC like?
So, basically, I mean, for me, it's different for English and it's different for a language. But for me, you kind of get. So you walk in, you get your preach my gospel, and that's basically what you are living on for me. It was 6 weeks, and it was practicing the lessons in a different language. Most of my day was made up in the MTC. Most of the day was made up of, language learning. We have, books that we would study from, and we would practice the lessons in Spanish and stuff for me. But it was mainly we did a lot of role playing, and we would comment a lot, and the teachers would comment a lot of kind of what to say and what not to say, and kind of how far to go in a sense of in your doctrinal discussion. So does that help?
Okay. Yeah, that helps. So which are some of the things like you're not supposed to say to the potential convert, if you can expound?
What are we not supposed to say?
Yeah,
well,
not
I mean,
to the potential convert or who is investigating.
We're supposed to just, there's really not, this is what you can and cannot say. It's more of keep it really basic and teach them as if they were little children. So, it's kind of like more like that. And, we don't go into, like, if we're teaching the plan of salvation, we won't go into the 3 degrees of glory. And, well, we won't go to the 3 levels in the celestial kingdom, for example, just because that's a little bit deeper doctrine. You know what I mean? So it's kind of just real basic LDS theology and what we teach and what they want us to teach. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
And one other thing, like while you guys go on a mission and while you meet with the bishop or state president, what's the report you guys do? Just like a salesman approach, how many people are you able to convert, or how many potential convert, or how many are investigating? That's it?
Wait, when I was on a mission, how many?
Once you get out, I think once you get out there, the reporting is all, that's the business model. That's what Larry saw.
Yeah, the whole reporting and the number thing that we had to do, and it was in our area books and where we have to contact, and it was just it was kind of
pressure, brother. It's pressure.
It was.
It's just a salesman's approach.
Yep.
Perfect.
Love you, Ryan.
Thanks. Okay, thank you, Shawn. Thanks for taking my call. Okay, wish you all the best, Shawn. Bye.
God bless. Bye-bye. And one off-air question. What is your opinion on Joseph Smith today?
Just kidding. I think Joseph Smith was just another religious leader. He, I think he saw an issue, and he tried to find a solution for it. I think the power kind of got to his head, but I think in the beginning he wanted to put together an organization to kind of help people, but later on down the road, I think the power got to his head, and he started taking these wives, and started getting this money and stuff, and I think he just kind of got corrupt that way, like every leader, I feel like. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my intake on Smith.
I agree with Larry on that
Yeah.
one. Some people say he was demonic and diabolical from the get-go, and I know there's many people who say that. I think he found something that worked. He had a good heart or maybe not a good heart, but he had a desire to do something, and and then it just like all of them,
exactly,
if you're not careful, happens with most. Larry, Norris, congratulations to your parents, and what a wonderful son they've raised, and really grateful that you're part of the ministry and the stuff you do, and we look forward to God blessing you. Keep following the Spirit, and the Spirit alone, go where He leads, and thanks so much, brother. We'll see you guys next week here on Heart of the Matter.
I'm on a ride, going nowhere. I am an existential cowboy on the wind, and I won't be coming out, I'm going in. This man's awake, a storm's arising, the dawn's awaiting till 100 monkeys know, and I can feel the light-filled monkeys start to